up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The U.S. may be making some big asks of Taiwan in exchange for lower tariffs. A top U.S. official says training American chip workers and more investment are key to a good deal. And as Chris Gorin reports, President Lai Ching-te might be on board despite some concerns from lawmakers.
Washington wants Taiwan to train its workers in advanced chip making, part of a deal to lower tariffs on Taiwan. That's according to U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in a recent interview.
But the fact is, this administration's goal is to bring semiconductor manufacturing to America, right? You remember TSMC announced a $100 billion increase in their build in Arizona, up to $165 billion. I think when we do a deal with Taiwan, that's even going to be bigger. And of course, they're going to train American workers.
Taiwan's cabinet, which is leading the negotiations, said on Thursday that workforce training was not part of the negotiations, but that it would be natural for Taiwanese companies to train their American workers. But President Lai Ching-te, speaking with American media through an interpreter, signaled he's on board with the U.S. strategy. He framed it as a way to deepen ties.
We remain supportive as President Trump seeks investments from Taiwanese semiconductor companies and suppliers in the U.S. We hope Taiwan-U.S. tariff negotiations will not only help reduce the U.S. trade deficit, but also deepen bilateral economic cooperation.
But demanding that Taiwan train U.S. workers is controversial here. Some lawmakers fear a brain drain of top-tier engineers to the U.S. President Lai may also have dropped some hints about the type of investment Taiwan could make in the U.S. When asked whether the Trump administration's goal to reach 50% of chip production in the U.S. in the next few years is realistic, here's what he said.
Whether this target of 40 to 50% can be achieved within this time frame depends not only on Taiwan's support, but also on the U.S. government's ability to facilitate land acquisition, water and electricity supply, workforce and talent development, and investment incentives.
That list, land, water, and power, sounds very similar to the kinds of services provided at Taiwan's science parks. Those are the industrial clusters where much of the country's chip production is concentrated. And it seems to be the kinds of problems that could be solved through what the government is calling the Taiwan model of investment: private sector money, help with industrial clusters, and workforce training. So we'll see how lawmakers here react, as they will have to approve any final U.S.-Taiwan deal. But the comments from Lai and Lutnick do give some insight into what that deal might look like. Patrick Chun, Klein Wong, and Chris Gorin in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
In his interview with the New York Times, President Lai also touched on defense spending and China's threats to invade Taiwan. For more on that, we now turn to our reporter, Tiffany Wong.
President Lai Ching-te says Taiwan needs to spend more on its defenses, and it needs to do it now. President Lai was speaking at the New York Times Dealbook Summit remotely, telling host Andrew Ross Sorkin that China's military is getting ready to take Taiwan by force by 2027. That's why he's pushing a special $40 billion defense budget to boost military spending over the next several years, a record amount. And the president says it's the only way to achieve peace.
We believe that peace is priceless and war has no winners. While we aspire to peace, we cannot harbor illusions about it. Peace must be secured through strength.
This comes after opposition lawmakers blocked Lai's defense budget bill from being reviewed. Still, he seems upbeat about the bill's prospects. Lai also sent a message to Beijing, urging Chinese President Xi Jinping to focus on his own country's problems instead of trying to take over Taiwan.
Taiwan's growth rate this year is projected to reach 7.37%, while international financial institutions estimate China's growth to be only a little above 4%. We sincerely hope that as China faces economic pressures, President Xi Jinping will focus not on territorial expansion, but on improving the well-being of the Chinese people.
This all comes as the U.S. and China seek to resolve trade tensions, something that's raised fears that Taiwan could be on the negotiating table. Washington is Taipei's biggest security backer, and increased defense spending would also benefit America. But at the Dealbook Summit, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent wouldn't say whether the U.S. would help Taiwan if war broke out. Taiwan's military is not its only source of strength. The country is set to see its biggest economic growth in 15 years, largely due to its tech dominance. And Taiwan's leaders are hopeful that its key position in the global chip supply chain will help bolster its defenses against China. Scott Huang and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Aside from its chip-making prowess, Taiwan has been building up its strength in healthcare technology. Now it's hoping to share that with the world. Cadence Coranta reports.
Robots, robots, and more robots. Taiwan is showing off how it's bringing AI into the healthcare field. The tech is on display at a major Taipei Expo. Officials there talking up the country's strides in medical tech, hoping to strengthen Taiwan's healthcare system and use its progress to help other countries. President Lai Ching-te framing it as a tool for diplomacy to boost Taiwan's image globally.
那我们也看到这几年来，台湾的医疗服务积极走向国际，让国际社会了解台湾 can help 这样的精神。台湾不仅仅存在，台湾继续壮大，台湾也积极走进国际，让国际社会了解台湾。
At the Expo, more achievements in bringing Taiwanese medical tech to other parts of the world. Here, an organization from the Czech Republic signs an agreement to buy over $200 million worth of medical devices from Taiwan. That equipment will go to sub-Saharan Africa to help support healthcare in the region. Several of Taiwan's Pacific and Caribbean allies are here too, signing an MOU with a Taiwanese company to give these countries their new AI medical imaging technology for free. It turns 2D black and white images into these kinds of 3D images.
So what it helps is that the doctors now, they can show 3D model to patients. Like you and me, we're not doctors, we don't have medical backgrounds. You look at the black and white images, you feel like, I don't understand what they're saying. But now, everything's in 3D. You can see it 360 degrees, how your bone fracture looks like, how the tumor looks like. The doctors can now explain to the patients and their families what is happening to your body.
The company says its AI can also be loaded onto goggles like these, which doctors can wear while performing surgery. Countries that signed, including diplomatic allies Tuvalu, St. Kitts and Nevis, Belize, and St. Vincent, say they want to strengthen their healthcare cooperation with Taiwan.
We look forward to jointly advancing the following: AI-driven medical imaging standardization, 3D and MR clinical education and training programs, cross-border telemedicine and surgical consultation platforms, and clinical demonstration and technology cooperation projects.
For Taiwan, this expo shows it's no longer just a chip powerhouse, but a dynamo across the tech industry. And it hopes to share its strengths in areas like healthcare with partners around the world. Howard Zhang and Cadence Coranta for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan says it will stand with Japan as tensions between Tokyo and Beijing remain high. Officials say the country will buy Japanese farm and fishery products as a show of support.
在此，我们除了坚定捍卫自由且公平的国际贸易秩序，也会实际行动支持来自日本的安全且优质的农渔产品。 以展现民主伙伴之间的互信与情谊。
Su spoke at a bilateral trade conference where both sides signed agreements to boost economic ties. Japan also stressed that Taiwan is a key ally. This comes after tensions over Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae's remarks on a possible intervention in a conflict with China.
The international trade system, which has long supported global trade and investment development, is now facing increasingly tense circumstances. Some have even attempted to unilaterally change the status quo through force or threats. In this context, Taiwan is an extremely important partner and a valued friend of Japan.
Takaichi has reiterated that Japan understands and respects China's position on Taiwan, as stated in the 1972 Japan-China joint communique. China is sending a large wave of naval and Coast Guard ships across East Asian waters this week, according to Reuters. Chinese vessels have surged from the Yellow Sea through the contested South China Sea and out into the Western Pacific. As of Thursday morning, more than 90 ships were still active, slightly down from over 100 earlier in the week. Taiwan says it's watching closely for any military activity or drills, as December is typically a busy month for Chinese exercises. U.S. and Taiwanese defense contractors have struck a deal aimed at improving Taiwan's drone fleet. Under the agreement, U.S.-based firm Ventor will help local fighter jet developer AIDC integrate navigation systems into its combat drones. The system could improve location accuracy in areas where GPS is unavailable due to enemy interference. It comes as Taiwan's military works to beef up its asymmetric strategy amid rising aggression from China. The Defense Ministry announced plans to acquire almost 50,000 drones over the next 2 years and to train reservists to operate them. Taiwanese officials have dismissed online reports that its intelligence officers held secret meetings with Dutch counterparts earlier this year. They say the allegations were spread by a group with links to the Chinese Communist Party. Alan Liu reports.
Flight details, meeting records, even photos of the delegation. This article has raised eyebrows in Taiwan. It claims that 6 senior officials from Taiwan's Military Intelligence Bureau secretly traveled to the Netherlands in May to meet with their Dutch counterparts. Details about their identities and itinerary were then leaked online. The article also alleges that the Netherlands asked Taiwan to help spy on 2 top Chinese semiconductor experts. Taiwan's Defense Ministry denies the allegations, blaming China's intelligence efforts for the report.
针对中共匈牙利侨社欧洲万事达网传散我军情局与友盟情报合作已情，国防部军事情报局今日表示，相关内容失真且与事实不符。
Taiwan's National Security Bureau also chimed in, saying it'll conduct a thorough investigation into possible internal accomplices.
那要尽速的来进行内部的调查，到底是人安的问题还是治安的问题？那另外，在传散的部分也会来溯源，知道他那个操作的手法以及可能背后的目的。
Analysts say China conducts intelligence operations against Taiwan on a regular basis. From previously offering bounties for information on Taiwan's military units to this publicizing of alleged Taiwan-Europe intelligence exchanges. Some see this as China trying to show off its intelligence capabilities to sow discord within Taiwan.
那人员各自放上网，它主要还是为了要彰显说，它不只是靠网络的情资，是要制造说让我们的这个单位内部互相猜疑、互相猜忌。
It may also be to cause trouble between Taiwan and its allies.
它有打乱我方跟友盟安全合作的脚步节奏的一个用意。那也有这个以情报战为本质，发挥认知作战的一个效果。
With the leaks already out in the public, security experts say it highlights a growing need for Taiwan to strengthen its counterintelligence and cybersecurity. Chris Ma and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
Referendums in Taiwan will now be tied to national elections as a new law comes into effect.
总统在核批这个公布案的同时，也加注批示表示，有鉴于公民投票与全国性选举一并举行时，曾经造成了选务单位沉重负担，以及投开票流程失序，请中选会等选务单位审慎因应。
The law is a reversal from a 2019 decision to decouple referendums from national elections. In 2018, Taiwan held a referendum alongside mayoral elections. Aside from voting for local leaders, people voted on 10 referendum proposals. The lengthy procedure caused delays and saw people standing in line for hours to cast their ballot. The opposition, which holds the legislature and pushed the bill through, says the new law would increase referendum turnout, which is needed for them to pass.
公投跟大选分开来以后，请问有哪一次的公投是顺利可以成功的？
Taiwan's next national elections are scheduled for November 2026. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, we take you to Bosnia, where residents gather to celebrate the start of the Christmas season. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care, and I'll see you next time.